technologies, methodologies and tools. And I think over that last decade, we've seen both around the world, but here in New Zealand, both a legislative requirement for some of our businesses, infrastructure companies, but also our local government to be understanding, disclosing and managing their risk to natural hazards and climate change. And so what we've seen as a result of that is that a market has opened up, and first and foremost, a number of consultancies started to tie that down and offer their expertise in that space. The challenge, of course, is that because physical risk from climate change and natural hazards touches so many different things and can be managed in so many different ways, some of the outcomes of those early stages of work, especially here in New Zealand, were the equivalent of doorstop reports, which weren't entirely accessible, nor were they very actionable. That is, they did not translate into us better managing our risk.
Okay, so in simple terms, what does your tool do? How is it different from that other modelling?
Yeah, so you can imagine it as a simulator or a sim city for your infrastructure, your councils, your homes and communities, etc., so that we can really quickly and easily simulate different natural hazard events like a flood, a wildfire, either today or in future, and then we can map that backwards to identify where we should intervene in that system before those events occur. So ultimately it's about making risk really accessible and actionable for the different decision makers who hold those leverage on reducing risk.
So initially you didn't get a great reception for the idea.
Yeah, so we had no intention of starting a company if we go back 5 or 10 years ago, but I guess we were pitching these ideas to those who we thought could take it to market and those who we thought had the influence to make a change in how we manage risk across New Zealand and abroad. But either we weren't pitching that idea particularly clearly, or it was just the wrong timing to be doing so. But we got to the point where we were blue in the face ourselves at saying what we believed in, that we thought we would take the risk ourselves and start to build a team and see if we could take some of the technologies and methodologies we've been working on to the hands of those decision makers.
Right, so attitudes, seem to have changed. Obviously, risk from climate change in particular front of mind at the moment, and we've been covering the issue of some companies refusing to insure homes in some areas. So people are wanting to know the risks and the scale of those risks and where. How, in practical terms, is the software being used now?
Yeah, great question. So typically it's being used by folk who are conducting adaptation planning, so figuring out how we manage our existing communities and infrastructure for the changing risks that they face, and we're seeing that unfold across the country as we speak. Also in that asset and facility management, so think of it like the Ministry of the Health or the NHS Property Service we work with in the UK. So they serve 6 million patients daily. They need to make sure that all of their sites, if they have design lives of 10, 20 or 50 plus years, need to make sure they are operating as best as they can to deliver the services and healthcare that they require.
And doesn't it need to be, I mean, you've got some councils involved in some places. Does this not need to be, everywhere really, if you're going to figure out where the risks are?
100%. Lots of the work that we do is with local government and councils here in New Zealand, but of course we know that just because there is a line on a map that delineates one council from another, that doesn't stop the risks or the different hazards that propagate into risks for our communities and our businesses. They don't stop at those boundary lines. And so the goal for us, and what it has been from before we started our team at Urban Intelligence, was for these tools to be integrated at a nationwide level and distributed across all of the different individuals that have levers that they can pull to reduce risk and build resilience. And that's all the way from property buyers and owners through to our asset managers, land use planners and insurers across New Zealand.
Appreciate your time this morning. That is Mitchell Anderson, Executive of Christchurch-based startup Urban Intelligence. It is 13 minutes past 8.
Sewage seeping from Wellington's moor could affect seaside residents for months. It has put a cloud over those wanting to use the beach, with a fix possibly months away. Wellington Mayor Andrew Little told Morning Report that it can't be fixed.
All we can do is tell people there is a risk associated with it and the level of that risk. That's the purpose of the monitoring and getting good information to people. But we can't physically stop people entering the water if that's what they wish to do. But as long as they are aware of the risk, then it's our job to make sure that they get the right information to assess that.
James McCaskill.